We have different textures of skin around the whole body. Some areas are more sensitive, and some areas, if you think of the soles of your feet, still got skin, but it's tougher. It's the sensory acuity of the skin varies, and this is a good thing. You wouldn't want to have really delicate. Think how the chest can be quite tender. You wouldn't want that on your feet, would you? Otherwise, it'd be very painful to walk around all day. And why am I telling you this about the skin? Well, consider your skin. It's a protective barrier, but it also helps us to communicate within ourselves internally and externally. So your skin is part of your connective tissue system. And I've spoken about connective tissue systems before. But in our skin, in that connective tissue system, the way that it communicates is there are receptors. There are a variety of different receptors in the skin, and they give us feedback information in terms of heat, in terms of pressure, so how much pressure is there on the skin, and intensity, compression, stretch. So we have stretch receptors, so how much your skin is stretching. Think about inflammation, or when you get injured in the skin, the body then sends all the emergency first aid cells to help protect, support that area by causing some inflammation, so that then the healing chemicals and healing cells can kind of get to it and fix and repair everything. But the skin needs to be able to stretch to adapt, so it has like an integrity or tensile strength. And all of this is happening, and all of this information is being communicated in receptors underneath the skin. It is a skill for those receptors to communicate. So the ability of those receptors to be able to send their information is actually dependent upon the environment of the skin itself. So not just the first layer that we can see here, but the subsequent layers of the skin underneath. This is where something like the melt method that I teach is really helpful, because it actually helps to hydrate cellularly, so that actually those individual layers of the skin, rather than getting stuck together and kind of moving in one chunks, they can glide and slide, and they have more flow and adaptation available to them because they're more hydrated. But the thing with the hydration is, she says, reaching for her glass of water, is I can drink some water. Very nice, thank you. And yes, that is nice and cooling, and some of the water is helpful for digestive and quite a few different functional processes of the body. But just because you're hydrating and drinking lots of water doesn't actually mean to say that that gets cellularly. Ways that we can actually achieve and help that fluid flow get cellularly to different parts of the body, particularly if you're sitting on your butt for a lot of time. So a lot of compression dehydrates tissues, a lot of stretch dehydrates tissues. So that's where thinking about what you're doing with your body is really helpful. But the mechanical manipulation and the period of time that you do that for is that activity, and that motion actually helps to change the consistency and what is happening interstitially through the fluids to draw in more fluid, so that tensegrity, so that is the integrity of the tissues to be able to adapt and then return to its ideal homeostatic state and function balance is possible. So the melt method is one of the tools that I use, and I encourage other people to use, to help with that fluid flow and adaptability and gliding and sliding of all those different filaments and connective tissues that are within the skin, different layers of skin. And also your connective tissue is in, through and around everything. So your skin here is just a different consistency and texture and integrity of the connective tissue system which then goes skin, then we've got fat, then we've got muscle, then we've got ligaments, and we've got tendons, and we've got bones, and then we have spaces for our veins, and then we have spaces for the storage of the different organs. All of that is the connective tissue system. And there's even spaces within the connective tissue system that help create and give us different form. So, a little bit more information about skin and a different way to look at it again.